Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to this workshop on how to write a research paper. My name is Ali Shahade. I am professor of applied linguistics and digital language education in the College of Education and coordinator of the Master of Education program. Let me just give you just an idea about the organization of this workshop. First of all, this workshop is recorded for the benefit of everyone. You can go back to it after the workshop, and for other students and others who would like to look at the workshop in the future. So that is for the benefit of everyone. And I try to make this workshop as interactive as possible during the whole workshop. And I'd like to mention that there might be some differences between disciplines and specializations. These are disciplinary differences, but I try to make the workshop as generic as possible. However, the examples which I am going to provide, they all come from my field of study, which is language education. There might be some differences, but like I said, basically the workshop is generic and most of the content applies to almost every decision, every discipline, including medicine, engineering, math, science, education, humanities, and so on. All right. I hope you can all hear me well and see me well.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Now, the structure of the workshop. During the workshop, I will pause for a few seconds and then ask you if there are any questions, if there are any comments. So, like I said, I try to make it as interactive as possible. Workshop like this one will be ideally done over a 3 hour period, but we don't have the time. We don't have the leisure of the time. We have an hour and a half. Nevertheless, I'll try to finish within 1 hour and a half. But like I said, I'll make it as interactive as possible. And if there is a need, we can take some more time. But feel free to leave if you think you need to leave at 2:30. But I try to finish within the time limit. All right. So I hope we agreed on these key principles. And then when I turn the presentation mode, I must not be able to see you if you raise your hand or if you want to write in the chat, because I'll be focusing on the presentation and this is the presentation mode. But feel free to unmute yourself and ask me or stop me for any questions or anything. All right? All right. Okay. So let's continue. And at the end of the workshop, there will be a link for your feedback so that we improve this workshop in the future. All right. Now it would be good. It would be good now for everyone to be muted unless they want to talk. So could you please?
How to write research paper.
Yes. Could you please mute yourself right now?
عشان الإزعاج. لا هي بشكل عام دايما بيكتبوه بيعملوهن وبناخذ شهادات عليهن إذا بتحضري أنت ورك شوب يعني.
Hello, somebody is talking and we can't hear you. Now, could you please mute yourself? All right. Please, everyone, mute yourselves, and then where there is a need, you can unmute yourself and you talk, so that there is no confusion and interference. All right. All right. So again, I welcome you all, young ladies and gentlemen, to this workshop. And I hope you can see my screen now, this one. I hope you can see it. All right, just say yes, no.
Yes, Dr. Yes.
Very good. Okay. So the workshop is on how to write a research paper. And the main focus will be on the main issues to consider in the submission and pitfalls. I'm not sure if you read the workshop description. If you read that, this one in front of you, great. If not, this is your opportunity to read it now. I will give you 2 minutes now to read the workshop description so that you know what we'll be focusing on. All right? So you have a couple of minutes to read the description. All right. Now, here's the plan of the workshop. The workshop falls into two parts. The first part is the most important one, and it focuses on content and conceptualization of the research paper. And these are the substance issues, the content issues, the originality issues. And the second part, which is the smaller one, focuses on the organization and the writing style of the research paper. And these are the surface issues. So the first part is the key one. And here is a plan for the first part, content and conceptualization of the research paper. So we will start with the introduction, how to introduce the topic, background to the topic and topic area, problem statement, purpose of the paper, rationale and significance of the paper, review of the literature and previous studies, research questions or research hypotheses, the methodology, the results, discussion, implications, limitations, recommendations, conclusion, and references. So all of these, they fall within the content and conceptualization of the substance issues. And basically for every part of these, I will give you the things you need to consider, to think of carefully, and what are the problems, which I call the pitfalls, which usually researchers fall into, master, doctoral students, or even established researchers. All right. So we will have what we need to focus on and what the problems usually people face when write this, or the problems that arise from their writing for each part. All right. And after each one, I will pause, like I said, for a few seconds. So if you have a question or comment, then we can have up to 2 minutes after each part. All right. First of all, the introduction. When you introduce your paper. All right. Now, probably some people might be waiting in the lobby for me to allow them in. Now, if I need to do that, then probably I need to do that. I'll have to do that myself. So please forgive me because I need to move around between the lobby and the paper. All right. So I'll go back to the mode phone. All right. So in the introduction, what we need to do is to give the background to the topic area, not to your research topic, but to the topic area in general. Start by stating the general interest in the field or the topic area of your study in 1 or 2 paragraphs. So here you need to tell the reader why the topic area, why the field is important. All right? If the reader doesn't feel that the area itself is important, then he or she doesn't care. They will not continue to read. All right? Now, my question to you here, just feel free to unmute yourself and talk. Okay, what problems might arise here? What are the pitfalls? I'll give you the pitfalls, but I'd like to ask you, what do you think the pitfalls are? Any answers? So what is the problem here? Some people might fall into when they introduce their field or the topic area of their research.
Small knowledge to that topic.
Good, small knowledge. Again, good. Any other ideas?
Starting very general.
Yes, we need to start very general, but again, you need to narrow it down. Okay, maybe the first one might be difficult for you. Now, one of the key issues, the pitfall, the problem, right, that interest in the field is assumed, مفترض, not stated. So you assume that the reader knows that the area is important. No, do not assume that. You need to tell the reader exactly this area is important. This research area is important. All right. Another pitfall, importance of the field or the topic area is not stated in the beginning of the paper, somewhere after page 3 or 4 or 5 or wherever. So basically, what you need to do from the very beginning, you need to tell the reader that this area is important, and in the first or second paragraph, right from the very beginning of the work. Now, I told you before that I'm going to share with you some examples from my own research. So you'll see me moving around between the presentation mode and the admission of people waiting in the lobby mode and the research which I'm going to share with you. All right. Now, if you look at this example here from my own research, like I mentioned before, I will share you examples from my own research. Now, my own research here, for example, this was published in 2011. It is one of the most cited papers in the world in second language learning and teaching. Now, here talking about collaborative writing, where learners work together to write, say, a paragraph or an essay or a research project like yourself. Okay, so.
Doctor, we only can see the PowerPoint.
Oh, all right, then I need to stop doing that. Okay, wait, then let me. Yes, thank you for alerting me so that I know what I'm doing. All right, I think I will need to do it differently now. How about now you can see the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes.
And
yes.
How about now? You can see the paper?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Very good. So I will use this kind of mode. Okay. Probably this way is good. Okay. Now here I'm telling the reader, we see the introduction, background to the topic, like I mentioned. Here I'm telling the reader that collaborative writing and collaboration are important to learn second language. All right? And so I'm telling the reader that collaboration and collaborative writing are important to learn second language. So that means I'm establishing here the topic area, not my specific topic, the topic area and the field. All right. So I go back to my presentation again. All right, here we go. Okay. Now, after the introduction here, we have the problem statement. We need to tell the reader, state the specific problem to be addressed, and a brief description of the general need for the study. So we need to tell the reader that there is a problem, and that's why my research is here to solve this problem, to address this problem. And basically, gap in knowledge is the main reason for the study, and we need to state it explicitly and clearly. All right. So we need to say there is a research problem. If there is no research problem, then there is no need for the research. Now, my question to you: what are the pitfalls here? What some pitfalls might happen with a research problem?
The topic is too generic.
Topic is too generic. Very good. Okay. Any other issues? Please feel free to talk.
The problem statement is not clear.
Very good. Problem statement not clear. All right. One more answer, if you have any.
You're
It's not
fixing
a
too
real
many
problem.
problems in one
Okay.
research paper.
Say it again.
I'm fixing too many problems in one research paper.
That is very good. Several problems in one research paper. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. So again, just like number one, the introduction, problem is assumed, not stated. Okay. You think the reader knows the problem, but the reader doesn't know the problem. So you need to state it. And the problem is not stated in the beginning of the paper. It might be mentioned on pages 3, 4, 5, or wherever. No, again, right from the very beginning, we need to mention that to the reader. All right. Again, let me share with you an example from my own research here. So this is introduction, and here problem statement. You can see that here. It says problem statement. All right. Saying that compared to research on the oral discourse, spoken discourse, research on the written discourse is very scarce. So there is a problem. We don't have much research to look at learners when they work and together and produce a single piece of writing. All right. So here I want to say there is an issue. There is a problem. All right. I'll go back to my PowerPoint again. All right. So the third one, you need to tell the reader what the purpose of your study is. All right. So initially, you showed interest in the field. You are saying there is a problem, and now this is the purpose of my study. What do you want to do? Okay. You should explicitly, clearly state what you want to examine. You want to investigate or to explore as early in your article as possible. All right. And most manuscripts should be limited to a single major issue, one problem, one issue, one argument. All right. So what's the problem here? Some people might have problems here. What? Pitfalls. Again, I wait to hear from you. Remember the purpose and one single issue. All right. It is your opportunity to contribute.
They don't explicitly state that what problem they're investigating.
Very good. They don't state explicitly what they are investigating. Very good. Any other problem? Look at this one. Single major issue. One of that, your colleague just mentioned something in the previous slide. Yes?
They look at more than one issues.
Very good. More than one issue. Could you probably 2 or 3 issues? All right. So some of the pitfalls, again, purpose assumed, not explicitly stated. You think the reader knows what you are doing. No. You need to tell the reader what you are doing. And another problem, keeping the reader waiting long to find out the precise subject or purpose of the paper. So you read on and on and on. So tell me what the purpose of the paper. And then sometimes in the middle of the paper, oh, the main goal of this paper to do this and that. That's not right. And even sometimes, now, by the way, these examples and these pitfalls and all of them, they come from real research, all of them, all of these pitfalls and issues and problems and so on. Okay, so even sometimes the reader is kept in the dark as to why the study is being undertaken until the concluding section of the paper. So you keep reading and reading and reading, and when it comes to the final part, the main purpose, the main goal of the paper was. So what now? You should have done that in that first or second page. And the manuscript addresses several issues or variables at the same time. Good research focuses usually on one issue, one major issue, or could be 2, no more than 2. Good research has one problem, not 2 problems, maybe 2 problems, maybe, but not 3 problems. So basically, you have one core issue, and there will be some other issues relating to it. Or rather than I want to do this and that and that and that and that, it will be too much. All right. Now, okay, let's look at my paper here. I hope you can see the paper now. Yes, I hope you can see it.
Yes, but can you zoom in?
Excellent. So you can see here, let me just look at number 3. Where's that number 3? Let me look at
Doctor, can you just zoom in a bit onto the highlighted areas because the text is not clearly visible?
Yeah, yes, I'm aware of that. I thought probably because really I care about the things here. Okay, I'll zoom up. Okay, this is better maybe for you. Okay, so you can see the purpose here. The ultimate aim of this paper is to do this and that. That means the goal. All right. So that is the goal of my paper, and that is in the first or second page, no more than that. All right. All right. So just move on. So you can see I'm trying to move on as much as possible. All right. Now that is the purpose of the paper. Good. Now the rationale and the significance of the paper. In the purpose of the paper, number 3, you say my paper will do this and that. Now here you need to give rationale. Why it is important to do this and that? Why do you want to do this one? So you want to say I want to look at collaborative writing or peer and group work, collaboration in teaching. That's fine, but why? All right. Authors must provide strong rationale, justification, reason for carrying out the research. All right. And the rationale must be well justified, and it must be grounded in theory, practice, and or research. In other words, when you provide the rationale, your rationale should be logical. It should be based on theoretical foundation, on a practical foundation, and or in past studies. It is not rational because it came to my mind, it occurred to me to do that, and I'm going to do it. No, your rationale should be a strong one. All right. So this hasn't been done. Good. I would like to do it. Fine. But tell me why. Who are you serving? Who will benefit from your research? So rationale and justification is basically you are telling the reader my research is important because so and so will benefit from it. maybe expand the theory, maybe expand practice, maybe I add to the literature, maybe some people, some teachers, some practitioners, medical doctors, engineers will benefit from it. It is not only because it wasn't done. It wasn't done, it's good, but it's not good enough. You need to say why it is important to do it. All right. Now, my question to you now, what is the pitfall here? What are some of the pitfalls? Yes, and responses. You are master doctoral students. You should be able to identify something based on this presentation now.
The topic might be in recent. There may not have been sufficient past research available. So it's a new topic.
Okay. So I'm saying that here we need to provide good rationale. What is the problem with some people when they do not provide good rationale? What happens? What is the problem? Go ahead.
The problem is they haven't researched it well. They haven't read enough past research about the topic.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That's good. This is one of the rationale issues. Okay. Some of the pitfalls. Okay. Now, the purpose of the study is not well or sufficiently justified, or it is not properly grounded in theory or practice or past studies. So that means there is no sufficient justification for the study, and the study is not based on theoretical foundation, practical foundation, or in past studies. And sometimes one of the problems is the over-justification. All right, you'd like to provide justification from every corner in the world to say my research is good, it is not so good. All right, so you can say I am serving, for example, I am serving teachers, fine. But I don't want to say I'm serving teachers, curriculum designers, the Minister of Education, policymakers, students, parents, others too much. People will not believe you. So do not over-justify what you want to do. One good piece of justification or two are fine, rather than having a lot of justification. All right? And look at this example here. So I am saying the rationale, all right, of my study of collaborative writing. Remember this one, collaborative writing. Saying, okay, the interest in this research has both theoretical consideration and pedagogical or practical consideration. So I am providing rationale for my research. Whether my rationale is absolutely strong or not that strong, no problem. But you have reason, you have logic, you have foundation, whether theoretical foundation or practical or both. All right, but you need to have foundation for your research, justification. All right. Any questions until now before I move on?
No.
Doctor,
Yes,
regarding the past research, like sometimes we have research which is not done on some new items in engineering. Like, so it's recently done, but we are trying to explore a new possibility. So how do we justify those things?
Very good. If you get a little bit patient, you will see the following 2-3 slides will focus on that. We'll answer that one. And if it doesn't answer, I will give you the answer. But we'll focus in the following 2 to 3 slides on this one. Yes, that is a good question. Okay, and here it is what your question. Review of literature and past studies. Now, when we review of literature and past studies, 2 things, all right? Now, the literature, usually we talk about that generic. However, we have 2 types of literature. We have what we call the established literature, and we have the previous studies. The established literature, here we review, we synthesize the literature, established literature. That means the theories, the trends, strands, agreements, consensus, al-ijma' or lack of it. So we talk about the theoretical importance of the topic. All right? So for example, go back to my example about collaborative learning. Talk about the importance of collaborative learning, types of collaborative learning, effect of collaborative learning in general. We call that the established literature. which is broad and generic. Now, once I do that, I go into the second part of the literature to review the previous studies. The previous studies, that means that experimental empirical studies. Review for studies that were carried out in the last 5 to 10 years. So go to look at experimental studies, not the established literature. Here, real studies, الدراسات التجريبية التطبيقية. So review previous studies that were conducted in the last 5 to 10 years. Here we explicitly show who did what, found what, and what still needs to be done. So for example, you can say so and so collected looked at collaborative writing with younger children. He or she collected data from 25 students, and they found good. And then other studies. So for each study, you talk about the purpose of the study, the methodology, and the main findings. And then once you do all of that, review all these previous experimental studies, you can say, all right, now we can see there is a gap here. Here, we need to do this one. So if you look at my final statement here, explicitly show who did what, found what, and what still needs to be done. That means you identify a gap or a niche in the previous studies so that your study is justified. We need to justify our study. If there is no gap, then there is no need for the study. All right? And here you can see the literature review visualized. The first two parts of this cone, right? Here we talk about, we see background, more to do with your topic area, not the topic area, the general area. All right? And here, this is related to your work. So here talk about, for example, collaboration and learning in general. Here, okay, narrow down to categories, maybe 2 to 3 categories that may deal with things in detail. All right, a closer look to what other people have done and somehow directly. So look at collaboration in learning second language, foreign language. And here, look at experimental studies that have looked at collaborative writing in my area of research, exact area. So I might find 5 studies, 10 studies, 12 studies, you know, very similar. Now here, categories close to your research, and you may find you are looking at few of these in detail. So here is research that is particularly pertinent to your work. So basically, you can see that when you start with the general review of the literature, established literature, a strand here, the second one, strand and series, and here research that is very much closely to my area of research. And you can see here, the bottom of the cone is your own research. You can see how narrow it is. It is very much pinned. You can see pointed here. That means it is only one thing, one aspect, one variable, like we said before. Here is your study, your current research issues. But your study here, to get to this one, you really look at the literature, what is relevant, closely relevant to you, and who has done the research in your area before, and you identify a gap. So that your study is A, contextualized in the literature, B, justified. All right? Did I answer your question, the engineering student?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Now here, okay, before we get to this one, all right. Any questions about the review of the literature? So we have 2 types of literature, the established literature, the general literature, and the previous studies, which we call sometimes past research or past studies. Sometimes previous studies. So we call them either previous studies or past research. All right. Now, my question to you, what are the advantages of reviewing the literature? Why do we need to do that?
Maybe someone already closed the gap.
Very good. Okay, if someone closed the gap, then there is no need for me to conduct research. Good. Yes. Another consideration. There are a number of things, a number of benefits. Do we write research paper without reviewing the literature? No.
Every year, like we have new studies coming, so some literature review can provide you an updated background on what's happening right now.
Very good. So we update our study with what's happening right now. Again, any other benefits?
Support. To support
Very
our
good.
argument.
To support our argument. I'm not arguing from the air, just from my mind. Okay? Something
Yeah,
established. Okay, go ahead.
also to explore the theoretical and conceptual frameworks used in these kinds of studies.
Absolutely wonderful. So to make use of the conceptual and theoretical frameworks and these studies, I might benefit from them. All right. So you can see here, young ladies and gentlemen, there are a number of advantages to review past studies and the literature. One, some of the main advantages, it demonstrates that you have consulted and understood books and articles that are relevant to your study. It shows how your work relates to the general body of knowledge in the field, so that I know what is happening there and I know where I fit. It helps you to choose the best way to approach your topic with regard to the methodology, data collection procedure, the treatment. So that maybe I design my methodology because I know what methodologies have been used. I follow them, expand them, add to them, and so on. And it gives the credibility to the whole of your research topic, because you are not talking from the top of your head, no, not just like what occurring to you. No, my work is contextualized within the literature, theoretical, pedagogical, practical, experimental, and so on. Okay. Now, what are, you think, the main pitfalls when people review the literature? What problems or pitfalls they fall into?
The first one may be the lack of up-to-date studies, too old studies.
Good. Your studies are not up-to-date, outdated. Very good.
Using not very credible studies or...
But absolutely.
Yeah.
The studies you have reviewed are not credible. Maybe from predatory journals. You know, predatory Vogue journal, predatory.
Sometimes using unrelated studies.
Very, very good. Studies are not relevant, not related. They do not serve you. Good. Yes, I'm hearing from you. You have a great idea. That's why I'd like to make this interactive as much as possible. Any other pitfalls?
No much empirical evidence, maybe?
Very good. There is no much theoretical evidence, no theoretical credibility. Good. Again.
No synthesis of the studies or the research reviewed.
Excellent. No synthesis, meaning that you reviewed each study separately, not showing that how they relate to each other and how they relate to your study. No synthesis. Good. All right. You see, you come up with a great idea. So here are some of the pitfalls. Review of the literature turns into long historical narrative. You know, people talk about, for example, collaboration from the beginning of humankind on earth. عندما خلق الله الإنسان على الأرض. I don't know, things like that. People say, or right from the beginning of the 20th century. So you read 5 pages talking about history. No, I do not need that. There might be historical perspective, maybe a paragraph or two. All right, rather than the example that came here in front of you, these are all real because you know I am a published author, reviewer, and editor, and I know what sometimes people submit. You know, talk about, for example, teaching and learning. You know, talk about, you know, in the 19th century, 20th century, 18th century. We do not need that. There might be a need for maybe a paragraph, but not a whole theoretical narrative. All right. Another pitfall, the literature review is too broad, too general. It includes anything and everything that directly or indirectly relates to your field, to your topic, to the purpose of the study. So anything. No, of course, initially it might be general. Remember the cone, right? But later on you need to bring it down and to narrow it down to make it limited. All right. Another pitfall. Could you please unmute yourself, please, there, and then you can talk and unmute yourself when there is an opportunity. All right. So the review of the literature could be too long or too short and abstract. Hello. Could you please unmute yourself on your side, and then when you talk, you can unmute yourself. Okay. So the review of the literature could be too long. So maybe 10 pages of review of the literature. No good. Or maybe just half a page or 1 page, and then we say, okay, my study justified. It is no good. Or the review of the literature is selective. You select the studies you like, that you support you, and you ignore the studies that you don't like, that do not support your field. So if I want to say that, okay, I'm looking at collaboration with younger children, then really you need to review all studies on collaboration in the classroom with younger children. But if I am a weak person, then I ignore all of this studies to show my study is the first one, and it's not good. Because here you are selecting what serves you, and you are ignoring and disregarding what doesn't serve you. So that means your review is not representative. It is not exhaustive. It is selective. انتقائي, which is not right. And of course, editors and reviewers, we all know that this is not good study because you have selected the studies that serve you and ignore the ones that do not serve you, although they are relevant to you. All right. So these are some of the pitfalls with review of the literature, and you mentioned some other ones in your responses. All right. Again, I will pause here for a few seconds if you have any questions so that we can have a minute or two.
Doctor, when we know that these papers or the literature is enough, we need to stop.
I couldn't hear the last 2 or 3 words. Please repeat that again. When we
know that we need to stop reviewing literature, what we have is enough.
That is a very good question. Now, you don't want to leave it to carry on until no end. When really you think you are happy that the papers you have chosen to review the literature are representative and they present the field fine and they are up to date. You don't want to review papers that are predatory, that have no weight, no value. You don't want to review papers that are only carried in the last, before 5 or 7 years from now. For example, now 2025. When you review papers until 2024 and 2025, then you are up to date. And these are key papers. But it doesn't mean that you keep searching day and night to find the paper published in Brazil, in Japan, or any paper. No, you don't to be, so much frantic or afraid to have every single paper. No, there is no need for that. Try your best. And when the reviewers, when the editors look at your paper and say, this is good, however, I recommend that you read this paper and that paper again, that is good. All right? But they have the impression that you have done your best. You did your best. And the paper is really good, but again, there is room for improvement. You add data just additions. So you do not need to be so much, frantic or terrified to review every single paper. No, do as much as possible in an honest manner. Thank you for the question. Good question. Any other questions?
Okay, Dr. Ali, I have a comment rather than a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, I can add another pitfall here because some researchers, maybe novice researchers, think that they need to be evaluative or subjective in the literature review, judging and agreeing or disagreeing in a very direct way. What do you think?
That's a good question again, right? Initially, you are more descriptive because you are describing who did what. And little by little, you become more judgmental. You become more evaluative because now you are an expert. So imagine if I'm reading work on, for example, again, collaboration. I don't know much about collaboration. So when I read, I only describe, see who did what, found what, and so on. But later on, in the latter part of my study, in the second part, by that time, I would have had good knowledge of the topic. And I know what is good, what is weak, what is no good, and so on. And here you become evaluative. You become critical. And your critical ability here is not personal. It is very much argumentative. It is very much academic. Because, to say, both of the research have confirmed so and so. However, some studies provided counter evidence. Nevertheless, these studies did not provide logical argument for argumentation or evidence for example, logical argument for their counter evidence. And maybe they had a problem in the design of their study. So here you become an expert. All right. In other words, initially you become descriptive, right? And you are distant, but later on you need to get involved because now you can become judgmental, evaluative, and critique. And when I say critique, I don't mean criticism. I mean here that look at what is good, what is powerful in writing in other papers, and what the weaknesses are. So you look at the advantages and disadvantages, the points of weaknesses and the points of strength. Okay, you can only do that in the latter part of your study, but not in, for example, on page 1 or page 2, because here you are still learning. But later on, you become an expert. I hope I answered your question.
Actually, in the literature review itself, we were taught in some of the courses that we have to be synthesizing, commenting, comparing, and contrasting the studies we are exploring or reviewing. So how can I just be like learning and not commenting? I think this is somehow contradicting what we are learning.
No, no.
In the beginning, we need to be like looking at two studies. We say, what you said is amazing, doctor. I mean, why should we leave it to the end of the study? Where in the end of the study? You mean in the discussion?
No, I'm not talking about the end of the study, end of the literature review. Here. Okay? Here, you talk about the theoretical foundation. All right? Here, you talk about things that are closer to you. But when you got here, now you have good knowledge about the theoretical foundation, conceptual reviews, and all of that. And here, when you review past studies, you become not only descriptive, but evaluative and critical here in this one.
Okay.
Because you see this part, and when you review studies one by one, later on, there is a section before you get to your own studies. One, we call it summary of past research and evaluation. So you summarize it and you say, okay, these are the advantages, these are the good things. However, right, there are problems here with past research. And this is a good question. Let me just share with you an example of my own research. All right. Now, you can see here my own study. Look at that here. Now, this is the review of the literature. Just look at it. I think it says the review of the literature, so that you look at it. You see here? I hope you can see it. Number 5.
Yes.
Okay. Now look at the end of it. Here, okay, acknowledging the contributions and knowledge obtained from past research. So you can say, we have learned a lot from past studies. We don't want to throw past research out of the window. We have benefited from that. And there is good knowledge, good advancement of knowledge, expansion of knowledge. All right, great. All right. However, there are problems like here. You see, creating a research niche. So we review past studies in an objective manner. Once you have good knowledge, then you can say, look, these are the benefits, these are the advantages, this is what we have learned. However, there is a problem here. Like here, that you can see in different colors. This is a review of our studies. Here, acknowledging the contributions of our studies. We don't want not to acknowledge other people's contributions. It is good that people have contributed knowledge, and that's why we have it now. But there is a problem. Nevertheless, you can see there is a problem here. We cannot reach conclusion. So I hope I was able to answer your question, and now you can see how they relate to each other.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, shall we move on? Okay. Now, research questions. When we finish with the review of the literature, and before we get to the methodology of our study, we have research questions. Some people write their research question in the first part, no problem. Usually, I do not favor that. But if you do that, no problem. However, you still need to write your research question or research hypothesis before your own study, before your methodology. All right. So research questions must be justified and grounded in theory and past studies. Research questions must be straightforward and simple statements. A research question or research hypothesis must be simple statements and straightforward. And today I'm going to give you some examples and I'm going to test you on them in a minute or two. Now, what are some of the pitfalls with the research questions? With the formulation of the research question, with the writing of the research question. Okay, so tell me.
It's too broad?
Too broad, very good. So what's the problem if they are too broad?
We cannot manage the research.
Very good. We can't manage it. Too broad, so difficult, it's unmanageable, so difficult to control for it. Good. Too broad. Any other pitfall?
Too complex.
Too complex. It means what?
Unachievable.
You're right. But that's why I'm pushing you to give more explanation. That's why I'd like to be critical. To what?
Unachievable.
Unachievable. Okay. All right. Again.
Or not
again?
clear, not specific.
Not very good. Not clear, not specific. Good. Another pitfall.
Too many questions.
Too many questions. And
misleading.
The wording of the question
very good. The wording
is not fitting with the topic, with the aim.
Absolutely. The wording itself. Very good. There are a number of issues. Okay. So look at some of the pitfalls. Research questions come out of the blue. You review the literature and the research questions. What? Research questions they are not connected to the literature at all. They are hanging in the air. Research questions are not grounded in the theory or past studies. Research questions are very much personal and subjective. They are not based on past studies, literature, and so on. And the research questions sometimes are negatively formulated. All right, let me just give you an example of negatively formulated or strangely formulated. So, for example, when I am reviewing research on collaboration, all right, I'm using this example throughout so that you know we have line of thought. Right. So, and collaboration says that the students are benefiting when they work together, collaborative work. All right, and nowadays we use a lot of peer and group work in the classroom, in our teaching, in our learning. And it is quite established that collaboration is beneficial. It's good. Students benefit from it. Very good. So I reviewed the literature on collaboration, and most of the literature tells me that collaboration is good for students and students benefit from it. And then I come to formulate my research hypothesis, and I say that collaboration does not help the students achieving their goals. What kind of hypothesis? It came from nowhere, because all the literature told me that collaboration is important. Then on what basis I am saying it doesn't help? People say this is not a research question. No, this is ridiculous. It doesn't take you anywhere. A research question should be based on the review of the literature. So then I can say collaboration helps the students get, for example, better outcome or something. That is my research question. All right, rather than doesn't help. So that's strangely or negatively formulated. This is one example. All right, now let me share with you this example. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read these 6 research questions and tell me which ones are good ones and which ones are not good and why. So you have a couple of minutes. All right, young ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at the watch and time is important. Okay, so tell me, research question 1.
This is not a good one.
There is no.
Okay, so which are we'll go one by one. How about research question one? Do individual learners benefit from pair work? Good or not?
Doctor, the question is, they are asking about individual learners are able to get any benefit from pair work. Individual learners cannot be in the pair work. We need a minimum 2 in pair work. I think that.
All right. So research question one. You think this is manageable, doable, clear, simple, straightforward?
No, it's not a good one. No, it's not a good one.
Okay. How about the second one? I'll give to one in a minute. Do you have an answer for the first one? Different answer.
I think the first one is good, but not good enough. It's good, but not good.
Yes, Tara.
Yeah, I think it is good because we can find some researches that says that pair work is good and some or can benefit, and some other studies that say the other thing, and we can have a meta-analysis or something like that.
Okay, good. But remember, I'm talking about our own research. So the first one is a really good one. Do individual learners benefit from pair work? So I have pair work. I give learners to work in pairs, and then I see if they benefit or not. What's the problem? What's the difference between this one and 2? How do individual learners benefit from pair work? Do you think this one is good or not? Number 2.
Number 2, you're looking at like broad effects, not specific effects compared to 1.
Okay. So yes, fine, that's good. Number 2 is not so good. Let me help you. But why is it not so good?
Because it establishes the fact that individual learners are benefiting from pair work. So there is no, it's like you have established already. You're just seeing the perspective from one end, not from two ends.
Absolutely. Very good. Because here we are establishing that they benefit. Now I'd like to see how they benefit. But I don't know whether they benefit or not. Then my question, whether it should be, do they benefit or they don't, rather than how do they benefit? All right? So the second question here is not good. It can be good only if we have already established in other research that they benefit. And now I'd like to see how they benefit. If that's the case, then it's good. But if I did not establish already, or other researchers did not establish they benefit, then I cannot say how do they benefit. Because first of all, I'd like to see whether they benefit or not, and then go on to say how they benefit. How about the third one? Number 3.
It's good.
Are you sure?
This should be established on...
Okay, maybe if it is individual learners, it will be good, but here he's talking about learners in general.
All right, just look at the first word.
Yeah, the problem is with the word should.
Yes, absolutely.
It should be does. It should be does learners or do learners benefit from pair work, like that.
What is the problem with the word should? The problem is with should. Why? Why the word should is wrong here?
It's like a possibility, not
absolutely. And we are, yes, Rasha?
It's like saying yes or no questions. Should they? Yes, they should, or no, they shouldn't.
Very good. And because we are given a judgment, should.
It's like an opinion.
Absolutely. In research, we do not do that in the research questions. We do not judge. Already we are making a judgment. No. All right? Research is completely objective. Research question. When I say should, you should do this. You shouldn't do that. You have to do this. Then I'm given judgment. All right? And there's no good. Number 4. What are students' perceptions of pair work? Quick, please. Quick. Good or not?
Yes, it's a good one. Yes.
Good one. All right. How about number 5? What are students and teachers' perception?
I think it should be 2 questions, this one.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's great. Because although we have, simple, the word and here is really big and. Because we need to have 2 questions. Because students' perceptions are one thing and teachers' perceptions are completely different things. So I cannot put them under one question. So the word and here, it is not a simple and. All right, when I say tea and coffee, it is not that. You and I, because you are one thing and myself is another thing. All right, so here we have and two, should be two questions rather than one, unlike this one. Student perceptions here, student teacher. How about the final one? What are the social, psychological, and cultural factors that impact individual student collaboration in their work?
It's not good.
Not good. I agree. Do you agree with your colleague?
Yes, there are too many.
Is it like the same before? Yes, all the variables are jammed together in one question.
Absolutely. All right. So because here I assume there are a number of problems here with this question. I assume that there are social, psychological, and cultural factors. One. Two, then I am looking at definitely what are social, psychological, and cultural. Probably there might not be social factors or might not be psychological, and putting them all together. So social factors are different from psychological, psychological from cultural, and therefore have so many variables. Like one of your colleagues mentioned, one of you mentioned that when we have conflict. So here we have really maybe 4 or 5 questions, research questions in this question. Okay. All right. Would you like to make a quick comment here before I move on? Your question. All right. Shall I move on? Okay. So methodology. Methodology. We have methodology how and methodology why. Now, how do you want to design your study? We need to provide detailed description of the context of the setting participants, and how data were collected, analyzed, coded is essential. So the methodology, now, 2 big words, how and why. How we design our study. So we need to provide detailed description of all of this, the context, the participants, the data collection, data analysis, coding of data, reliability, credibility, ethical considerations, all of these. All right. What are some of the problems in the methodology and the how in the design? Quick answer, because time is...
It might be too basic, like about the procedures and they're explaining. It might be too basic.
Yes, might be too basic. Another question, good. Another answer?
The inclusion and exclusion criteria might not be well justified.
Absolutely. Very good. Justified will come to second slide, actually. Not well
the participant might not be, or the population, or sorry, the sample isn't representative.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. It might not be representative. All right, answer. Okay. So some of the problems, pitfalls, in that inadequate description of the methodology or some parts of it. The methodology was not clearly explained. It needs to be explained well. Mixing up methodology subsections into 1 or 2 sections. So you read the whole methodology and you don't find the subsections. Methodology and then find it. Well, the participants, data collection tool, data collection procedure, data analysis, coding of data, nothing. They all put together in one section or 2 sections. That's right. Missing whole sections in the methodology, method of data analysis, how data were analyzed. All right. So I have the methodology, but the methodology doesn't tell me how data were coded, how data were analyzed, and sometimes misordering of the sections. So these are some problems with the methodology. You can see I'm really gone fast because I don't want to keep you. We still have half an hour and maybe you need a little bit more. All right. Now, methodology, why? Okay, when we say here, I collected data from 25 participants to look at collaboration. And you describe the methodology and the participants and the teacher and data collection, all of it. Excellent. Now, the second question will be, why did you collect data from younger children and not from older children or adults? Why from 25 participants but not 50? So we need justification. All right? And this is one of the most important words in the research, in particular in the methodology. They say, I'm going to read it in a minute. Why do you want to design your study in this way? You need to give rationale why your study was designed in this way. Justification or why is that cornerstone. You can see in capital T, capital T, capital S, capital E. Cornerstone requirement in the methodology section, and indeed for the whole of your credible research. Everything in the methodology section must be properly and sufficiently justified. All right? It is not enough to explain it. You need to do that, but you need to say why you collected data using free post-test. You have done that, great, but why? Why did you collect data using only interviews or only observation, or maybe interviews and observation, and maybe looking at surveys and free post-test? Whatever you do is good, provided you justify it. You give rationale, even if it is excellent work. And remember, this one is important for your doctoral research, young ladies and gentlemen, and for your master's or doctoral. Okay, when you have the examiners, in particular the external examiner, they might ask you questions like, you designed your study in this way. It is good. Tell me why. You do not say because other people have done that. That's not enough. You need to say, I did that because this and that. You need to give rationale based on data, on evidence, on past studies, on logic. All right, everything must be justified. All right, and this is the key word in the methodology, in particular the methodology, and this is very important for publication. All right, now, so what are some of the problems in the justification of the methodology? You should be able to say some.
Not convincing?
Yes, not convincing. Okay. It is not well justified. Again.
Maybe subjective justification.
Yeah, subjective, not objective. Yes, I did that because I think it's good. No one will take that. No one will buy that. Good.
Maybe methodology was chosen incorrect.
Okay, incorrect methodology. Absolutely, you cannot justify it. Wrong methodology. All right. So look at some of the pitfalls. One, making unsupported assumptions and claims, like one of your colleagues just mentioned. It is very much personal, subjective, rather than objective, rather than based on rationale, justification. You make claims without support, without evidence. It lacks justification, subjective, anecdotal, based on personal views, personal justification, or sometimes over justification. All right? Again, this is the problem. I chose this methodology because this and that, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. So you bring justification from every corner in the world. This is no good. Again, people will start to question that. Why are you over justifying your methodology? It is good to justify it, but not to overdo it. All right? Okay, so that's it for the methodology. Again, I pause for a few seconds if you have any questions or comments before I move on to the other part.
Suppose you're using a new methodology which was not previously used in any other studies, but you're trying to see the impact of this new mechanism or this new methodology. How do you justify that?
That is excellent. You say, whenever you ask questions, I love that. I like it. It's important. Good. You could do that. You might find gaps with the previous methodologies, and you said, based on that, this is my methodology, which I have piloted. You pilot your methodology, and you prove it was successful, and then you implement it. All right? So you might propose a new methodology or adapt other methodologies. And that is great. And this is part of your innovation, part of your originality, to have methodology that is adapting other people's methodology or expanding them or adding into them, provided that you justify it. So you can say previous methodologies were flawed. Other researchers have shown that. And therefore, I am adapting, expanding this methodology, and I have piloted, piloting, I have piloted, tested my methodology, and it worked, and before I implemented my methodology in writing. So that's in my study. All right, that is great. When you have your own methodology design, but you need to prove that it was successful in the piloting part, piloting phase.
Okay, thank you.
Good. All right. So let me just move on. Now, the results. Okay. The results of the data analysis must be reported systematically in a systematic and organized manner. Question 1, question 2, 3, 4, and so on. The quantitative findings, qualitative findings, and so on. The results of data analysis must be examined considering the research hypothesis or research question which you have put before. And percentages and numbers must be reported in the table, not only percentages, not only numbers, must be reported in the tables and figures. And also they must be explained adequately in the text. In other words, in my findings, it is good to show this in tables and figures, fine. But every table and figure must be explained in a narrative format. All right? So you need both narrative format, narrative part to talk about your findings, and tables and figures. So it is not enough to have only narration, especially if you have quantitative data without tables and figures, or the other way around, to say, now my findings, see table so and so, see figure so and so. Okay, tell me what you have in the table, what you have in the figure. So we can see, as you can see from table 1, table 5, okay, the results have shown that. As you can see from figure 2, right, there is a difference between, say, the control group and the experimental group. All right, so everything has to be shown both in the table and figure format, if there is a need for that, usually there is a need for format, and in a narrative format. All right, any problems? What are the pitfalls with the results, reporting of the results?
Incorrect report.
Okay,
You
can
you
also
don't
put
report,
that
you
to
directly jump to the to talk about what do they mean or their implications.
Say that again, please. Say it again.
Like you don't report the findings, you directly jump to the conclusion or their meaning or their implications.
Yes. Oh, that is the big issue. That means, yes, of course, to jump to the conclusion and discussion without the findings. What are your findings? But imagine you have your findings. What problems we have in the reporting?
Incorrect use of graphical representations or figure representations.
That's very good. All right, we both graphical representation and narrative representation. Good.
Okay. Also, sometimes results come out of nowhere. They are not related to the question, to the research questions.
Very good. Results come from nowhere. Where do you guys get the results from? There is no consistency between your research question, methodology, and the results. All right, and so, okay, so there are a number of issues, problems, like you mentioned. All right, some of the pitfalls here, research questions and research hypotheses are completely forgotten, like your colleague has mentioned now, right? You talk about, these are my results, but in what way you didn't say in what way your research hypotheses were confirmed or disconfirmed, in what way your research questions were answered positively or negatively. We don't know. We need to know that in the results. Figures and numbers are not provided, only narrative. All right, and sometimes figures, numbers, averages are provided, but with no little explanation. All right, so these are the figures, the numbers, but then there is no explanation. All right, of course there could be other things. All right, but these are some of the key issues in reporting. So basically, we need to, in reporting the findings, to be systematic, clear, and then to say whether our research questions were answered positively or negatively, and or our hypotheses were confirmed or not confirmed. Discussion. Results must be discussed considering the research questions and research hypotheses, and whether confirmed or, especially if not confirmed, rejected, and whether answered positively or especially if answered negatively. In all cases, the principled and reasoned accounts why must be provided. In other words, what I'm saying here, when we discuss our findings, okay, by the way, the discussion part is the most important part in the research question and the most difficult one. I know that for you as research students, doctoral, master students, and early career researchers, one of the most difficult parts, if not the most difficult part, is the research is the discussion. Discussion, it means, okay, what do you think you have found? The importance of your findings, what your findings mean, how to connect them with the previous studies and so on. It is not easy to do that. And I try to guide you here, all right? So in our discussion, we look at our findings in relation to our research question or research hypothesis, whether they could confirm or if they were not confirmed. Now, if they're confirmed, great. If not confirmed, again, fine, wonderful. But why? Why the research hypothesis was not confirmed? Because the research hypothesis was based on logic, on previous research. It is well contextualized, but it was not confirmed here. Tell me why. My research questions were answered positively. Good. But what happens if they were answered negatively? Again, it is equally good. But why? So you need to give justification why the research question was answered negatively rather than positively. All right? So the word again, why, justification is key here. Again, research must also be discussed in light of past studies and your research review. Remember the second part. In what way they confirm your findings? They confirm or disconfirm findings of past studies and why? In what way my findings provide further support for the previous studies, and in what way they deviate from them? They are different. And why? Okay? And here, number 3, what do you think you have found? How important or significant your findings are? So you need to say something that although my findings are different from findings from other studies, I believe here I have more significant findings, whether positive or negative, no problem, because so and so. All right? So I need to have belief in my findings because my methodology is sound, my literature review is complete, everything is fine. So my findings are really good. Whether answer the research questions positively or negatively, no problem. But I have strong findings. I have good findings. I have significant findings. All right? So in the discussion, we do a number of things, right? First, we look at our findings in relation to research questions, research hypothesis, in relation to the theoretical framework, and in relation to past studies, and we say in what way we are similar to them or different, and particular if different, in what way we are more significant, more original, and more important. All right. Tell me some of the pitfalls in the discussion.
Sometimes when they discuss the results, they will never talk about the negative results, so they will be more biased towards the positive results.
That's very good. You all highlight the positive findings as not the negative. You just hide them under the pillow. Okay, that's good. Which is not good research, not good way of doing research. Very good. Any other pitfall? There are a number.
Okay, maybe some researchers will be or will sound like apologetic because their results didn't confirm the hypothesis.
You're right. You need not be apologetic because the finding is the finding. All right. So, for example, if you look at the effect of, for example, of some vaccines of the corona pandemic, you know, some vaccines are more effective. The research show that they are more effective, for example, with younger generation, with younger people than with others, and so on, or the other way around. It doesn't mean there's something right or wrong. If finding is the finding, so you need not be apologetic because you haven't done anything wrong. If finding is the finding, your research is good. Good. Any other ideas?
Okay, also, some researchers forget to ground the discussion in the previous research they discussed in the beginning.
Very good. They forget complete about previous research and they just talk about the importance of their findings. You see, one of the important issues that we connect our findings and to them in relation to previous research. Good. Any other ideas? They already came with 3 or 4 ideas. One more idea before I move on to, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I don't have an idea, but I have a question actually. It's about the negative results in the research. Is it a good idea to discuss it like in details in the discussion part, or is it like it's better just to mention that we found these negative results without lengthy discussion?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. In fact, it is more important. Established researchers, good researchers, they appreciate your discussion of the differences between your study and other studies more than the similarities. And they appreciate if they find, if you say that here, my findings did not confirm the original study, they appreciate it more. This is really important. Unlike the common perception, people believe that my findings are significant. My findings are all great. No, when people say that, many people say that's not good research. But when you say 2 of my findings support other studies, but the 3 do not provide support, they provide negative support. When they do that and you provide rationale for it, people, the editor, the reviewer, and researchers appreciate this one much more than findings with support others. But you need to do it in academic manner. So really, rather than to do that briefly, do that in detail. All right? So that is important. Okay? Good. So look at some of the pitfalls. Discussion is only summary, paraphrase of the or reciting the result. So sometimes I read discussion only. This study sought to examine collaboration in second language learning and so on, and then this is what I found. So this is finding. Because where's the discussion? There's no discussion. So sometimes the discussion is only summary. It's no good. Results discussed in a subjective manner without reference to other studies. You know that. You mentioned that. All right. So I need to discuss my findings in relation to previous studies, to the theoretical foundation, and to my research questions. Results discussed in brief and surface, superficial way, briefly, without digging deep. I mentioned before the interpretation, the discussion of the results is the most important part in the origin. It shows the originality of your work, really. Your originality, your contribution, original contribution to the field, okay, lies in the discussion. All right. So you need to have deep discussion and thorough discussion. And one final pitfall: findings are exaggerated or overgeneralized. You think you have solved all problems of the world. No. Okay. Say yes. These are my findings. I am targeting this population or this part, and yes, this is what I found. You don't want to say my findings are great. They are wonderful. They are better than other people's findings. I have findings that everyone benefits from: teachers, medical doctors, engineers. I don't know. People will not believe you when they are over generalized or exaggerated. A question before I move on?
It's not a question. Again, it's a comment.
Go ahead.
Because also in the discussion, sometimes some authors or researchers might forget to point out to the limitations.
Very good. Come to this one. Just be a little patient. That will be after discussion. Here we go. Implications. All right. So just be a little patient. Okay. So implications. What are the implications of your findings? What the findings mean for theory, and what the findings mean for practice. So we have what we call theoretical implications and pedagogical or practical implications. These are my findings. I discussed them. But what the findings mean for this research area, this research strand for the field. All right. So the theoretical implications, what do the findings of the study mean for theory, for research, for our understanding of the field? All right. So we need to say what the findings mean for the general field of study. And we should have a practical implication, pedagogical implication, what the findings mean for people on the ground, for medical doctors, for classroom teachers, for professionals, for practice. What do the findings mean for practice, professional, classroom interaction, teaching methodology, syllabus design, curriculum, and so on. So basically, my findings, with the research, has findings for the theoretical field, for the field itself, to expand the field knowledge, and then people on the ground, for nurses, for teachers, for medical engineers, for people on the ground. All right, so that my findings have importance for both theoretical considerations and practical considerations. All right, what are the pitfalls here of the implications?
Maybe overgeneralizing the implications or exaggerating the implications, that they relate to many fields and they are so many, like to give significance to the study, maybe.
Very good. Yes, yes. Exaggerating and overgeneralizing. You're absolutely right. Okay, good. Any other pitfall? One or two more, please. Feel free to talk, please. Yes?
Maybe knowledge.
Irrelevant implication.
What? Say that again?
Irrelevant implication.
Irrelevant
This will make
implication.
the reader
Good.
lose trust.
They are not relevant. They are not based on your findings. Anything that comes to your mind. Very good. Okay. And young lady wanted to say something else. Go ahead.
You fail to explain how you can exactly apply in the field.
Very good. You do not explain that, or you maybe assume, all right? And if you say this is how it could be applied in the field, your implications become really more useful and more practical, all right? So there are a number of problems here with the implications, pitfalls. Implications are completely missing. You read the paper, the findings, discussion, and then conclusion or limitation. But without saying what the findings mean for theory or for pedagogy. Could be both or one of them. Okay, so they are completely missing. Implications, like you mentioned, one of you young ladies and gentlemen mentioned that they are overstretched, overdone, they are exaggerated. Or implications, they are not explained, like you mentioned. They are all listed. You have 10 implications. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is no good. Usually the implications, anything between 2 to 4 implications. Maybe theoretical implications 1 or 2. Pedagogical implications between 2 to 4. Do not write 7 or 10. Do not only list them. If you have 2 to 3 good implications. Okay. Now could you please mute yourself? Someone is talking. There is something, so that there is no confusion. Hello? There's someone there. Hello? Please mute yourself. Okay. So the implications here, okay, like I mentioned, theoretical implications 1 or 2, pedagogical implications between 2 to 4. What your findings mean for people on the ground, for nurses, for teachers, for engineers. All right. So, and for each one, I write maybe a paragraph, small paragraph, not listing them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without an explanation. All right. Now, limitations. Okay. You asked me about limitations, and here's limitations. One should be frank about the limitation of his or her study. It is to be humble and to be realistic. Okay. We need to say what hasn't been done properly. Because research, it doesn't mean that everything will be perfect. Something hasn't been done properly. And what and how things could have been done better. I have designed my study, this methodology, but now I feel that if I made modification to the methodology, if I incorporated, for example, survey or maybe interviews would have been better. So what could have been done better? And then acknowledging any weaknesses in the design, in the methodology or the study. So usually it is good to do that, to say, okay, although my study is good and well designed, but there are some issues, some problems, some limitations. It is a virtue, all right, to do that. Okay, what are some of the pitfalls when people come to this one?
Maybe ignoring the limitations overall.
Good. Okay, ignoring the limitations. You don't have any limitations. Are you sure? Good. Isra, because I can see that someone raising her hand. Isra, go ahead.
So they are not honest?
Okay, not honest. How come? In what way? Tell me.
Like maybe they have some bias in some way, but they did not mention that they, for example, measured something in a wrong way, for example.
Okay, yes, they are biased and the limitations. Very good. Put it in the wrong way. Good. All right. Any other problems in the limitations? Another pitfall?
It's always nice to explain that how this study is still applicable despite its weakness or despite its limitation. How is it applicable? Yeah.
Very good. So the study is not bad, it's good, all right, and can be applied. However, it would have been better in the future to do something and to cater for the limitations here, so that people know that your study is good, but again, it has limitations, all right? Do not apply it in many contexts, maybe in 1 or 2, okay? So look, some of the limitations. Limitations are not addressed or acknowledged. People ignore them completely to say, my work is perfect, wonderful. No one will believe you. Researchers will not believe you, all right? So some limitations are not addressed or acknowledged. Limitations are not justified or put into perspective, right? You need to say, these are some of the limitations. You don't want to say, because I collected data from a small sample. And this is or only from male or from female. You know, these are people keep repeating them. No, need to have good limitations. For example, in the design, in the data collection, in whatever. So they need to be justified, good limitations, all right, rather than writing anything. And sometimes limitations are too many, to the extent that they will call into question the results, objectives, and credibility of the study. So if you want to say to be objective and to be really truthful, you list 7 or 10 limitations. This will destroy your study, saying that your study wasn't well designed. You see, you have problems in the methodology, problems in the collection of data, problems in the analysis, problems in the review of the literature. So what kind of a study? So do not be, you know, too humble and say, I have so many problems with my study. If you have so many problems, then it's not a study. All right? So basically, when we have 2 to 3 limitations, I worked hard, my study is good, well designed, well carried out, but there are maybe 1 or 2 issues, 3 issues, no problem. But if you say I have 10 issues with my problem, then probably you shouldn't have the study in the first place. All right, I'll move on because I'm looking at the time. Recommendations. All right, recommendations for future or further research. This must be based on the findings of the study. So based on the findings, you make some recommendations for more research. And these are usually between 2 to 4 recommendations. All right, what are some of the pitfalls here under recommendations? How people make mistakes when they make recommendations?
Again, too many recommendations.
Very good, too many recommendations. Good.
Doctor, I have a question regarding recommendations. Like,
go ahead.
In terms of like future research, sometimes maybe a research group, they know their limitations and they know what they can do further in their study. Okay. So they might not mention it in their paper. It said that this is what you can recommend for future study, and they want to focus on it. So okay. What's the ethical viewpoint on that?
Now, I think they are being here a little bit biased because they want to hide it for their own research. Now, I don't know. This is very much personal. If I want really to be objective, and there is a way to do that, by the way, to say, okay, now these are 2 or 3 recommendations for future research, and the current researchers are working already on this part in a separate study. So here, this way, you become academic, you become objective, rather than to hide it. You don't want other people to know it. So you mention it, but to say, we have plans in place to work on this part of the limitation of the study. So this way, you do not hide it, but then you say, look, we are working on that. We have plans to work on that, rather than not to mention it at all. It is a virtue to mention it, but again, it's good to say we are already in the process of doing research or plans for this. Yes, is it a good way, diplomatic manner? Yes, you're happy with that?
Yes, thank you, Doctor.
Very good. Okay, so what are, again, some other problems with the recommendations, other pitfalls? I heard 1 or 2. Any others?
General, not relating to your study.
General, okay. Again, gentlemen, please.
And I think as long as like further recommendations, they should know the gaps for the literature, so they should talk about it. But sometimes they don't even know what the gaps are.
Okay. Well, of course, even if they don't, but they make recommendations based on their own study, their own findings, and their own familiar to the field now. You are an expert, so tell me what you need to do in the future. Okay, I see now it is now 2:30, and I think I still need half an hour. If you feel you need to go, you are free to just to leave the room, to sign off if you like. But if you continue, I think for your benefit, or I will continue until we finish. Probably we finish at 3, inshallah. All right. So, shall I continue?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think now really you know, a workshop like this requires like face-to-face and 3 hours with a break in between. But I'm aware of the time, but I thought really make the best use of it. Okay, so here we are some of the pitfalls in the recommendations. Recommendations are based more on past or other research findings rather than on the current studies findings. So you can see recommendations are based on what other people found rather than on what your own findings. What? Recommendation should be based on what I found on my own findings rather than on other people's findings. Okay. Recommendations are based on the author's personal objective observations and personal experiences and personal judgment, or any ideas might occur to him or to the author, rather than on your findings. So anything comes to my mind, all right, I write it as a recommendation. This is no good. All right. Recommendations must not be too many, otherwise they A, sound exaggerated, and B, they fall beyond the scope of the current studies. So anything between 2 to 3 or 4 recommendations that are good ones, that other people can pick them up and they conduct research based on your recommendation. So it's important to have some recommendations, but it is important to do that properly based on my findings, and they are logical and they are doable. And again, I need to say, recommendation, it would be good to conduct research, say, for example, in mixed gender education, to say this and that. So you give rationale for your recommendation rather than list 10 recommendations or 7, 2 to 4 recommendations. All right. And the final part here, remember, we still have other things. The final part here, the conclusion must be relatively short and humble, unassuming. And in the conclusion, no new literature should be added that you have not previously mentioned. You do not create something new in the conclusion. Conclusion here is to look back at what you have done and what you have found. Do not add a new literature. Do not add something absolutely new in the study in the conclusion. It is no good. All right? Okay. So what are some of the pitfalls, again, in the conclusion section?
You fail to drive the point home, like you fail to justify your research hypothesis in your conclusion.
Very good. Fail to drive your argument home and to justify, to mention research hypothesis and questions. Good. To revisit them in concluding manner. Again, good.
Sometimes they are repetitive of the introduction.
Repetitive. Okay. Very good. Just repetitive. Of course, it is kind of summary and repetition, but it's not repetition in the literal sense, بالمعنى الحرفي, but kind of saying, this is what I have found, and that is really good. You leave the reader with good impression. Good. Shouldn't be repetitive. Very good. Gentlemen?
I think introducing new results or new details that were not already mentioned or discussed.
Yes, came from nowhere. Yes, this shouldn't be done here. All right, one final point before I show that, what I have. Yes? Or, okay, let's move on then. All right, so some of the pitfalls, conclusion ends abruptly. All of a sudden, the end of the paper, without bringing it to complete natural end, smooth end. The conclusion is too long, 2 pages, 3 pages in length. Why? The conclusion should be a couple of paragraphs, no more than that. All right? The conclusion is assuming and asserting, forceful. You want the reader to agree that your work is great. Okay? Look, my findings are important, they are significant, and you should take them, and you should believe in me. It is no good. All right? You just say this is what you have found, and then up to people to take up your conclusions or not to take them. So do not force your conclusions on people. All right? And again, a new literature, not the previous submission, is brought up here. Okay? So there are problems with that conclusion, and of course, must be how it must be. I mentioned that here. Okay. References. Okay. This must be accurate. You need to mention the volume number, the issue number, and the page number. And they must be in accordance with the journal guidelines. And all references which are cited in the text must be listed in the list of references. Likewise, all references which you list in the list of references must be cited. So there should be one-to-one relationship between all the references in the text. They should be all in the reference list. No addition here and no addition there. Okay. Problems. What are the pitfalls? And references.
The formatting is not appropriate with the
Very good. Inappropriate formatting. You're right. Good.
If the references are not reliable?
Yes, good. Not reliable. They are not from index sources. They come from predatory journals. Good. So right.
They're normally.
Go ahead.
Normally, when you're going through the paper, like the numbering is not correctly done.
Yes, numbering is not done. There's no there's no match or complete alignment. Yes, good. Again,
missing references. For example, they are cited in text but not in the reference list.
Very good. Or the other way around. Good. So there are a number of problems with the references. Okay, look at some of the pitfalls. Inaccurate citation. Citations are not accurate. You go, for example, we say, okay, so and so code, and then you give page number. All right, for example, Shahada 2011, page 29, for example, to 30, and you give a code. And you go to Shahada 2011 to that page number, and it is not there. It is not accurate. That means there is a problem in your citation. You don't go to the original publication. Outdated references. Many of them are out of date. 30, 40, 50 years old. Too many references from the internet rather than from databases. Too many secondary references rather than primary. Okay, so you take 2 or 3 books, and from them you take all the references, most of the references. You did not go to the primary references. No good. That means you did not go to the original publication. Only summaries of this publication somewhere else. Too many references from non-specialized journals or magazines, like we said, predatory and others, or references from predatory or rogue journals, like I mentioned, or maybe sometimes exaggerated number of references, redundant references. Okay, list of references. I have 5 pages of references. Why? You don't want to impress with the number of references. People are not impressed with that. People like to say that every reference you have used, you use it for good reason, for good goal. It is not there because people like to count references. All right? So everything you have there, it is justified and it serves a purpose. All right. Now, remember I mentioned in the beginning of the workshop, we have the content, and that is the key, the main part which we finished. But again, we need to look at the surface issues, the organization and the writing style. So probably here we need around 10 minutes. Will you be happy with me to continue with that?
Yes, Doctor, go on, please.
Okay. So when we talk about the research paper, what we covered now really covered as much as possible the content, starting from the introduction to the references. We included all that. Now, you have done that, and now you want to submit your paper for publication, for consideration of publication. So we look at the surface issues, the organization and writing style. Now, surface issues, okay? The paper, the actual paper, it should be well organized and well presented piece of writing, right? When you read it, there is, line of thought, and then you read it with a pleasure. You read it and you can say coherent. It is coherent. You are building an argument.
Ali Shahada.
All right. Okay. So that's my name, Ali Shahadi. Now, there should be a smooth transition between one part and the other. When you finish one part, you move from one part to the other. There should be coherence and cohesion. Coherence, that means the ideas should be coherent. Here, coherent. Cohesion, the form. So when you move from one part to the other, then you make a link. You can say, for example, and now I have looked at the literature review. Now we move on to the methodology, right? In the previous section, we finished with the methodology. Now we are moving to the discussion. So basically, you need to have, we call that linking devices, transitional devices. So there should be logic, that is the content, and then there should be link, the form in your ideas in writing. I know this is not easy, but with the practice, you will learn from it, and with the help of supervisor and with the help of colleagues, you get better at that. And we all learn from this, by the way. All right. Again, when it comes to surface issues, use simple language whenever possible, and carefully explain difficult concepts and terminology. Some people think that you use difficult language. Could you please mute yourself? Hello? Please mute yourself.
اللي عايز يروح وعاجبه الوقت كان بها يعني اهلا وسهلا، اللي مش عاجبه خلاص ما يروحش.
All right. Hello. I'm waiting for you to mute yourself.
عشان الباص يروح امتى ويرجع امتى. هو اصلا الجروب ده سماح اللي عاملاه اصلا.
No problem. No problem. Okay. No problem. Okay. We are all learning. All right. So use simple language. Now, does it mean that when you use difficult language, your research is good? No. Simple facts are told in simple language. Use short sentences, which are preferable, as a clear, concise, jargon-free statement that do not distort the meaning. So even great researchers, big researchers, they use simple language. Doesn't mean that when you use difficult language, unless of there is a need, no problem. But as much as you can use simple language rather than difficult language. All right, when you write your paper. Okay, what are some of the pitfalls? Tell me, quick, please.
Okay, my usual pitfall is long sentences.
All right. Yeah, sometimes I have that pitfall myself. All right, long sentences. So we need to cut them up into two. All right. Yeah, sometimes I have this one. You know, long sentences which are 3 lines, sometimes in length. Oh, come on. So try to cut them up into 2 or 3 simple sentences. Good. Another pitfall.
Sometimes when explaining something simple, they use very complicated languages.
Good. There is a complex language. There is no need. Very good. Isra. I'm saying Isra because sometimes I see some names here on my screen. Okay.
The flow is not good. Like you're not transitioning from
very
one
good.
paragraph to the other.
There is no good flow, connection, or coherence between one part and the other. So there are a number of problems. Okay, let me just give you some of the issues. Okay. Now again, I'll come to this one in a minute. Here, the problems are here. Okay, the pitfalls. I'll go back to them here. Now, avoid unnecessary repetition. Avoid the cliches. You know cliches? Avoid them in research. All right? Say what you want, what you are going to do. Do it, and then say what you have done. Full stop. Okay? Say what you are going to do. This research will do this and that. You do it, and then I have done that. So the first one, anticipate. The second, elaborate, while the third one, summarizes and fix stuff. This is research. You know, we are not talking about, you know, luxury things. Talking about academic work. All right? Straightforward, simple, to the point, and then you finish. All right? And look at the note here. Most journals publish a guide to article preparation or recommendation for particular guide to follow. All right? So you need to carefully review these guidelines because they provide useful hints regarding the style, organization, and citation, and so on. Now, some of the problems you mentioned, with some of the pitfalls that here we are. Poor organization of the material. It is not well organized, the material, that means the research paper. Incompetent or hopeless writing style. I know that you and I, most of us are non-native speakers of English. Of course, we write well, but maybe we do not write absolutely like native speakers. No problem. But the problem is that when you read and it is full of grammatical mistakes, full of problems, so you cannot even see the content because of the problems of the writing style. It is just like circular, going round and round and round, and you cannot see the content. So sometimes the content is great, but because of the writing, the content is lost. All right, this is, we call it incompetent or hopeless writing style. Inappropriate use of the language. Sometimes you say something, it means something else rather than what you have in mind. And other times not following the journal article. Now, these pitfalls, what they do, their effect. Now, they can do, that means they can destroy even the best intentioned manuscript or to rejection. So sometimes many people, many articles which are potentially good for publication, they get rejected because of the writing style, because of the poor organization. It is not because of being native or non-native speaker. No. All right? Many non-native speakers are excellent researchers in the world. No problem. But you're talking about the minimum requirement to write clearly, to have good organization, good coherence, good cohesion, and so on. All right? So some of these pitfalls might even destroy the best paper. They doom it to rejection because you read, and then you cannot understand. All right. many articles that have the potential of adding to the literature, that means adding to become original and genuine, they are rejected because reviewers give up in disgust after struggling through the submission. Now, every month, every week, usually, I receive invitations to submit to review for international journal. And in fact, yesterday I finished one, which was good. But sometimes, because of the writing style and because of the misordering and disorganization and discoherence, then you can't really understand the paper. Say, okay, I'm sorry, this is the rejection. Okay, it might be good, but I couldn't. How can I say this good if I cannot really read it well? If it is not well organized and not well conceptualized and not well presented. All right. And final thing, the editor's or the reviewer's job is not to fight through messy or poorly crafted work. So, like I just mentioned that reviewers and editors look at the work. If it's potentially readable and good in terms of organization, in terms of coherence, they say, okay, and the content is good, then we'll send it out for external review. But if it is not good on the face of it, then stop there, return it to the submitter, to the author. All right. Now, the final thing here, these are usually the recommendations of the reviewers. Most journals, for your benefit, most journals use some variation of the following set of categories: accept with minor revisions, resubmit because there are major revisions, or reject. Now, my question to you, if you are lucky, which one you get? If you are lucky.
The minor revisions.
Minor.
Okay, if you are lucky.
If I'm lucky, major revisions.
If you are really lucky, you get a 3, resubmit, and with major revisions. This is if you are lucky. If you are extremely lucky,
you get
then
accepted.
the second option.
Which one? If you are extremely lucky.
Get
accepted. The second option.
Second option, absolutely. Okay, if your paper is accepted with minor revisions, you need to go and celebrate and invite your friends for dinner. All right, absolutely. But accept good journals. No, I have been, in the business of, of publishing for more than 20 years. I acted as editor of 2 international journals, for each one for 6 years, 12 years. And until now, I am member of a number of editorial boards. I haven't heard of accept straight away. No, at all. All right, even it comes from the best researchers, because when you go to a good journal, top journal, and you have excellent reviewers, all the time they find things. I'm not talking about weaknesses. They find suggestions, improvement, do this, do that. Why did you do this? What? Justify. So basically say, this is good work. I recommend publication. However, I recommend some minor revisions. So basically, I haven't heard maybe once or twice in my whole career of accept, in top journals in the world. So if you are lucky, really lucky, you get resubmit with major revision. That means there's potential. If you are extremely lucky, you get, yes, your paper has been accepted, and then some revisions. All right, and I hope you all get 2, and eventually you get 1. All right, now 1 or 2 final things. I'll be happy to share with you my own papers on research. I have some papers here, how to do literature review and create your research niche. I'll be happy to share this with you. And the other paper, 2020, how to contextualize your research project in relation to the review of the literature, in relation to the location of the study. And my latest paper on that, to look for alternative modes of publication for novice researchers like yourselves. Although the papers, in some way, they target, education and language, but they apply in many ways to any field. So if you are interested, I will be happy to share with you these papers. I have electronic copies of them, and this is my email. So just send me an email, and I will be happy to share them with you. So one on how to do literature review and to create your research niche. The other one, how to create context for your paper And the other one, there are other ways to get published, not only top-tier journals, which is good, but to go for forums, for magazines, for other ways, and then at the end of the day, you can get published in top-tier journals. And the final slide here is that I'm happy to say that our university has editing services. Now, these editing services in the past 10, 12 years, they were available to faculty members like myself and others, as well as doctoral master students. In the last 4 or 5 years, they stopped that for doctoral and master students. However, this year, they have brought back this facility. I think you can get it for free if you want. I'm not absolutely sure. So please write to Dr. Shahab Majood, here, his name, okay? So you can get your paper read by professional proofreaders, all right? And the university will do this one, I believe, for masters and students for free as well. For faculty members, yes, for us it is free. But I think now it is also free for masters and doctoral students. But please check with Dr. Shahab Majood. So that when your paper is ready and you want to send it out for publication, it is good to give it to these professional proofreaders. By the way, do not give your paper to people you do not trust. Now, this company is on contract with the university, so that no one will steal your paper. But do not give it to people who send you email, send your paper, and you pay $200 or whatever. They might steal your work. Do not do that. All right? Either give it to people you know, people you trust, or to the university research editing services, which I recommend this one. All right? And these people will help you get the organization, the writing style of your paper to the expected level of the journal, the specific journal to which you want to submit your work. And they do not interfere with the content. They do not change the content or the organization. Okay? They only make the reading more smooth, more easy to follow, more coherent, and so on. All right? So this is there. And finally, I'd like to say thank you so much for being patient with me. I expected that we need a couple of hours, and now we're finishing within 2 hours. All right? I will be happy to take up any questions you may have. So I will stop sharing and get back to the main screen. So please do ask me if you have any questions. Either raise your hand or just speak. Unmute yourself and speak. Go ahead. All right. Yes, Isra.
So again, you mentioned about the editing, like people who are like helping us editing our paper. Like what kind of edit they help us in, please?
Very good. Okay. They make the reading more straightforward. They make it more coherent. They make it more native-like in terms of writing. You read it with pleasure. So if you have problems in things like the coherent, a smooth transition from one part to the other, they make it more smooth. And so they focus on the surface issues. They will not change the content. And they really bring it up to very good standards. I'm aware of that, myself, other people, and other faculty members at the university. Many of them get their papers published because, of this. They have that. Yeah. And of course, it's up to you to take whatever they suggest, because they follow track changes. So you can accept all the recommendations. Some of them, 10% of them, none of them. It is up to you to accept and reject. It is up to you. All right, but it is a great service. Wonderful. Yes, Ramsha, yes, go ahead.
Professor, you happen to mention that we are not supposed to, use too many references in the reference section. But if we are using a part of the studies in our, a research article, will it not be plagiarism if we do not happen to mention? Although the list is getting long, but we are using their information in our article.
Ramsha, I didn't say that. I said that when you have references that are not cited in the text of the paper. You know, some people, if you look at the paper itself, you have, for example, 45 references. Great. But you go to the list of references, you find 70. That is the point I made. But any single paper reference you have consulted in the text should be there, must be there in the references. And likewise, everything in the references must be mentioned in the paper. So definitely, I'm not saying about more or less. I'm saying that there should be one-to-one relationship between what you cite in the paper and what you list in the references. So it could be 50, it could be 5, it could be 500. I don't know. But there should be one-to-one correspondence. That is the point from Shah. Yes, I hope you got my point.
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions? Please feel free, and I'll be happy to answer questions. Or if you have any comment or anything. Yes, Isra.
What did you mean by secondary references?
Okay. Secondary references when you have summaries of the research findings by other people. These are important research findings. Okay. So, for example, I have conducted a study in 2011. All right. And I collected data from two groups, experimental and control group. This is my study and these are my findings. And instead of going to my own paper and looking at what I found, you take a summary from somewhere else, people who summarize my study, and you only rely on that. Okay, that is secondary, right? So if you want to be original, I need to go, in particular, I want to cite experimental and past studies. Remember I mentioned in the cone, the bottom part, all right? For that one, you need to go to the experimental studies themselves rather than summaries in other places. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes, but most of the time, no.
Thank you.
All right, you got that? Is that clear?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Good, good. Abdullah, please, go ahead.
Doctor, thank you very much. Doctor, my question is regarding the aim and objective of the research. How it is related to the topic, the first title?
Okay. Now, the title of your research is your own research. All right. This is what you want to do. All right. Now, the first two parts, that the introduction and the problem statement, they relate to the field, to the area. So, for example, okay, I think I gave you an example. Let me give you another example. If I wanted to talk about the use of technology, all right. So, for example, use of let me just say what flipped classroom. You all know flipped classroom, all of you.
Yeah.
Yes, flipped classroom. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I could use, for example, Wicked. How to use Wicked? You know Wicked, Google Docs. You know them?
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine if I want to talk about Google Docs to help learners to work together and write together. So the first paragraph or two, I talk about the importance of technology in teaching and learning, and say nowadays technology is part and parcel of teaching and learning at all levels. So here establishing the field. And you can say, however, sometimes the use of technology is not even, or maybe the use of technology, maybe there are problems with implementation of use of technology. When it comes to the use of Google Docs, for example, in the UAE, we do not find good research, and the research that is available doesn't show us how to use Google Docs in the classroom and teaching. So basically, you are focusing on Google Docs and teaching in the classroom, but you want in the beginning to say the area of my research, which is technology and teaching and learning, is an important area. All right. So you need to convince me that your research area, not topic, research area is important, and then you bring it down to the topic to say, yes, this is the topic, and my topic is justified. All right, Abdullah?
Yes, thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Yes, I don't want to let anyone down. If you have any other questions, please do. If not, okay. I think, yes, there is one thing before I forget. There is a link to provide your feedback for the College of Graduate Studies and for all of us to benefit from that. What I will do, I will share the feedback right now on the chat. Let me, I think here is the link. Let me just share it for your feedback. All right, let me, if you please just bear with me. So here in the chat. Okay. Now here is the feedback. Now, could you please provide your feedback on this workshop, and if you have any other suggestions for any future workshops in the future? Like I said, I will be happy to share with you my paper, and there will be a recording of this presentation, and the university will post it on YouTube of the College of Graduate Studies. So you will have access to the recording, and I'll be happy to share with you my own publications on getting published and on publication. All right. I hope you found this workshop useful. I hope you have benefited from it. And inshallah, I see you are all researchers and established scholars in the field, in your own field. All right. So I will stop the recording now. All right. I will stop. I have now stopped the recording. So, all right, young ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.